This is the 12 match races of Christmas, where us, the Triple Clowns, present to you some dream matchups. We are constantly working on original and I think groundbreaking horse racing shows that are informative and also, at the end of the day, fun, guys. So hit that like, subscribe button, and that notification bell. Also follow us on Twitter at Clowns Triple and all other social media platforms, because we are going to bring you new shows. That's right, new shows that include horse racing conspiracies and odd stories, handicapping 101. We're going to do live picks from the track, and of course, our show where we interview great guests and we do some horse racing skits that are a good time. Support us so we can keep going, trailblazing in the horse racing industry. From AJ Ryder, Sarah Marie, and of course, myself, G. Randall Johnson. Happy holidays, and let's get it on with the 12 match races of Christmas. All right, everybody, for our 12 match races of Christmas, we have the one that everybody has talked about that's into horse racing. And this was the toughest one. So we needed to bring in somebody with their PhD for this one.
Yes.
And that is Dr. Derby, Chip Gehrke, to go Rachel Alexandra against Zenyatta. The one, the only Zenyatta, I should say, because a legend. Rachel Alexandra against Zenyatta. We brought in the Dr. Derby, Chip Gehrke. Welcome back, Chip. Good to see you.
Hey, great to be back. They're both legends. This is really difficult. They both hold special places in my heart. I think this is difficult. We'll get into it.
I know. I feel like Chip's already like tearing up a little bit. I feel like these guys are special to him. We all understand that, but this is what we do here. And like I told Chip earlier, that we take a lot of horses that we don't even think will win or like that horse. Arguing against John Henry is a hard thing after watching all the John Henry things, and we had to do it. So. Chip, thank you for having the balls to come on here and do this race, because this is one I know nobody wanted. And Chip, because we got to get Dr. Derby in here, because
we got to get the doctor in on this one.
We got to get a doctor in. We had to call the doctor. And Chip, thank you for coming on. But you are going to take Zenyatta here, where you're going to argue the case for Zenyatta. We're going 1.25 miles on the dirt, not synthetic. And we actually, after a little bit of deliberation, we actually decided to keep it in Santa Anita. And this is going to come into play, I think, a little bit. We're giving Chip a little bit of a soft toss here. And that's what we're going to do. So here's the tail of the tape. And in the blue corner, hailing from Lexington, Kentucky, with an almost perfect record of 20 starts, 19 wins, and 1 loss. Her major wins include the El Encino Stakes, the Apple Blossom Handicap, the Milady Handicap, the Vanity Handicap, Clement L. Hirsch, the Lady Secret Stakes, Santa Margarita Handicap, Breeders' Cup Ladies Classic, Breeders' Cup Classic. This was your American Champion Older Female Horse of the Year in 2008, 2009, 2010, and your American Horse of the Year in 2010. That is the Queen Z, Zenyatta. And in the red corner, hailing from Lexington, Kentucky, with an impressive record of 13 wins, 5 seconds in 19 starts. Her major wins include the Goldenrod Stakes, Martha Washington Stakes, Fairground Oaks, Fantasy Stakes, Kentucky Oaks, Mother Goose Stakes, Haskell, Woodward Stakes, Fleur de Lis Handicap. This was your 2009 Preakness Stakes winner, and also 2009's Champion 3-year-old for the year and the American Horse of the Year, Rachel Alexandra. All right, so Chip, you know the rounds, but for everybody else that doesn't know what we're doing here are the rounds. AJ, tell them what we're doing.
All right. Well, our contest consists of 3 rounds. The first round, each contestant in our show will have an opportunity to present their opening argument. Each opening argument will be limited to 1 minute only. The second round is the Q&A with the judges. Each judges will get a opportunity to ask each contestant as many questions about each horse as they'd like. There is no time limit on this round. The final round consists of a free-for-all battle royale lasting 1 minute 30 seconds, where each contestant goes back and forth presenting their argument, and well, we'll just see what happens then. So, and at the end of the 3 rounds, the remaining 2 judges will then confer and decide our winner.
Okay, now here's the fun part, Chip. Well, not for us always. This is a fun part. You get to choose one of the 3 clowns, and we do not know who you're going to pick. Well, I'm going to say that again. We don't know who you're going to pick here, and that's the fun part. You're going to go against that person in the battle of Rachel Alexandra versus Zenyatta. Who do you want to go against? Which one of the clowns, Trip?
Take a wild guess. It's going to be AJ.
Oh, that was a shocker. Shocker. We know these guys have
No
a gammon
surprise there.
beef. I almost didn't even take notes on this race because I knew this was going this way, but I've been tricked before.
I had to.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I would actually be a little disappointed if he didn't go with AJ here.
Why do you think I fought so hard for this not to be at Santa Anita before we started?
Okay, here we go.
Be on me.
Well,
excuses already for AJ.
Now you need to prove your side.
I'm going to make notes of that right now. All right, so we're going to start out. Chip, you get to pick first. Would you like to go first for your opening argument, or would you like to go second?
I'll go second.
All right. So, AJ, we are going to start round 1. Each of you get 1 minute each, and we will start now.
All right, so there's no doubt Zenyatta was great. I mean, these are 2 fillies around the same time period that both were great champions in their own right. However, this is a match race. This is mano-a-mano. This is one-on-one, who's faster. And I don't think there's any question here whether or not, who was the faster horse. I mean, you look at Rachel, the way she was able to run and the numbers she was able to put up. I mean, I don't think this is even as close as a lot of people want to say it is. 2009, she was the highest buyer speed figure of any thoroughbred in the country. Guess who was still running in 2009? Zenyatta was. If you look at Equibase numbers throughout their career, multiple times Rachel was 120 or higher. Zenyatta's only time, going north of 120 was in the Breeders' Cup, but it was a Breeders' Cup. Of course, that number is going to be skewed high. If you look at the rest of them, she was running like 99, 105. I mean, in terms of just pure speed, this one, it's cut and dried.
All right, so that was round 1 for AJ. Let's go to Chip. Chip, you ready?
Yeah, I am. So.
No, wait, hold on. We got to start the clock.
All right.
Ready, Chip?
Yeah.
Go.
So AJ is right. Rachel Alexandra certainly had an abundance of early speed, tractable. Zenyatta, obviously a dead closer. In match races, though, things are different. Usually, even though you're a dead closer, they'll run up close and keep pace with Rachel Alexandra. As far as speed figures, Zenyatta did run 2 figures over 110. So did Rachel. They each were equal in that regard. And as far as that figure in 2009 with Rachel Alexandra, that 116 she ran in the Haskell, it was over a sloppy track where she got to the lead, a very easy lead after the first quarter. So a lot of times you'll see horses freak in the slop like that. Take nothing away from Rachel Alexandra. These are both great horses. And I think the home track matters here a lot. In their match race at Santa Anita on the dirt, and the 10 furlongs also will come into play. As we know, Zenyatta loved more distance.
All right,
Perfect.
Okay.
It's like perfect. You guys have that minute down.
Yeah, you guys are pretty much right on the minute. All right. Okay, so now we go to our round 2.
Round 2 will be a cross-examination. Randy and I will cross-examine both of you. And we'll start. AJ, do you think the home field advantage here will hurt Rachel in this match race?
No, only because, Rachel was able to go all over and still be able to find a way to win. Churchill, New York, Kentucky, it doesn't matter where she was a winner, and that's just what winners do. That's the reason at the end of the day when we were deciding this, I finally said, okay, you know what? Let's give Zenyatta home field advantage, because I don't think it's going to matter at the end of the day.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna ask Chip this right here. Actually, I'm gonna ask you both. I'm gonna start with Chip though. Chip, when it comes to this, everybody talks about one horse ducking another horse. Who do you feel ducked who more, honestly, in this race? Because this race obviously could have happened.
Well, a lot of people say that, and I am representing Zenyatta in this argument. Um, I know a lot of people think Rachel Alexandra ducked Zenyatta in the 2009 Breeders' Cup, but if I'm going to be truthful, I don't believe that. I think Rachel had a very difficult campaign, and I would not have run in the Breeders' Cup if I were her connections either, because she had done everything. She had done more than any 3-year-old filly in history, and that's a fact. So, do I think either of them ducked either? I guess you could say maybe Rachel Alexander in the spring of 2010 could have. You could say she may have ducked Zenyatta in the Apple Blossom. Rachel was just getting started. Appeared not to be the same filly at age 4, but I don't think either really ducked either. I don't think either one of them ducked each other.
Okay, AJ, you.
Well, Chip's got the background there. He looks like he's at a fight press conference. And, when we set up these big fights, everyone always wants the conditions to be in their favor. So being able to find them. So saying that she ducked her at the Breeders' Cup in San Antonio, well, I'm protecting my horse because I don't want him to run on a surface that I believe they can get hurt or not going to give their best performance. My argument here is Zenyatta traveled twice outside of the state of California. Rachel went everywhere, obviously, except for she did go to Churchill. She went to Oaklawn. There's no reason Zenyatta couldn't have met her on a neutral track.
Okay.
Well,
all right. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, Rachel was 3 in her prime, so no, Zenyatta could not have faced her really. There was no races; they were all restricted, with the exception of the Woodward at a mile and an eighth in August of her 3-year-old year. And you're not going to see Zenyatta ship over to New York for the Woodward at 9 furlongs in August that year. She had just run the Vanity in June, and then she was scheduled. Actually, she ran the Clement Hirsch in early August. So no, I don't think that was. There's no way they could have met at age 3 unless Rachel went to the Breeders' Cup Classic. At age 4 was really the only time they could have met early in that season.
Okay. Sarah, question.
Well, let's bring up fillies against the boys. Who do you think was a stronger horse when it came to going against a male?
Me?
Laughing because you set him up for that.
Who's first?
Well, start with you, Chip.
Okay. Doesn't matter.
Me? Okay. Well, I mean, let's be honest. They're both were equally great against males. Zenyatta, she won the Breeders' Cup Classic. She's the only female to have done that in history. Granted, it was over synthetic surface. It really doesn't matter. She beat the males, and she almost beat them again the following year, becoming only the second horse to repeat in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And in fact, I would say her race in the Breeders' Cup Classic against the males in 2010 was her most impressive race, considering she was nearly 25 lengths back at the early going. So I think they're both equally great. Rachel, I'll let AJ talk about Rachel, but as far as Zenyatta, I think she proved her worth against males. And I also think Zenyatta ran up to her competition. And what I mean by that is she faced weaker fields. She got the job done. Sometimes she barely won the races, but she always seemed to know where that wire was. Obviously, she won all of her races except for one. She was 19 of 20, so she knew what she was doing. So.
Well, I would say when it comes to going against the males, I can think of 2 performances that were, stand out. The fact that after, 2 weeks prior, Mind That Bird ran the most impressive Kentucky Derby maybe in history. And then Rachel comes into the Preakness and puts him away, followed by a Haskell not long after that, where I mentioned before the speed figure she put up, but she won it by 6. She went in and dominated the guys in the Haskell, which is, is one of the biggest grade ones of the year.
Yeah. I agree, and obviously you're right with the Haskell, and then against 3-year-olds. The only knock I would have on it's not even a knock. The facts are she beat Minette Bird in the Preakness, who was not considered one of the better Derby winners in the last 25 years. In fact, Zenyatta defeated Minette Bird by double-digit lengths in the Breeders' Cup in 2009 later that season, and also she beat kind of a sprinter, a couple sprinters in that Haskell. The Woodward that she did beat males, I take nothing away from her win, but that was not a very strong group of older males when looking back on that field.
Which leads me to my question, the last one for you guys. For me, will be both of you. I'm going to ask the question because that's what I'm wondering. Do you believe that classic field she beat and then lost by a nose? So you can have two of them here, Chip, with Zenyatta, lost by a nose. Let's face it, if Mike Smith be the first one crying that he didn't move her quick enough and probably should have won that race by a lip, let's just say, were more impressive than the 3 wins against the males the year before with Rachel. Do you guys think, class? Do you think, which one do you think was better with the class? AJ, let's start with you.
Rephrase the question because I didn't quite.
Do you think the classic runs by Zenyatta, the first and second, the one she won and the one were better class than the 3 wins with males the year before Rachel?
Well, one she lost, so I'll just count that one. I don't think that matters there. And then the one prior to, I don't think, looking at Breeders' Cup Classic fields, I'm sorry, I don't think it's the strongest.
Okay. All right, Chip?
So, no, the Breeders' Cup Classic fields were not the strongest. I mean, I'm not going to lie, that's the truth. However, I disagree with AJ on one thing. I think her second and last Breeders' Cup and her last race defined her career. Oftentimes, horses will cement their legacies in losses. If you look at Seattle Slew's loss in the Jockey Club Gold Cup to Exceller when he set a torrid pace but was beaten, that kind of cemented his legacy. And I look at Zenyatta's loss in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I don't know if everybody remembers this. The day before the Breeders' Cup Classic was the Breeders' Cup Ladies Distaff. And there was a filly in there that was the favorite, Life at 10. She was far back and was pulled up. Do you guys remember that race?
I don't actually know.
Okay. She was far back early, 25 lengths, appeared to lose she did lose contact and she was pulled up. Well, when the gates sprung for that Breeders' Cup Classic in 2010, 24 hours later, Zenyatta was in the exact same position. She was so far. I've never seen a horse that far back in a grade 1 event like that at a mile and a quarter come back and win. And she was about 25 lengths at least at one point, maybe more, and looked like she was going to be pulled up. And not only did she not pull up, she almost won the race. And she had to go wide, unlike the year before where she kind of saved some ground along the inside at the turn for home. This is different. She was wide, and she beat she ran against a better field than she did the year before. And I think the Breeders' Cup Classic loss cemented Zenyatta's legacy in my mind.
Okay. All right. So
I just have one final question. This is AJ's typical question he likes to ask, but I got to ask it. Pace scenario, mile and a quarter on dirt, Santa Anita. What do you see as the pace scenario here for this race?
Rachel goes out to the front, never looks back, and then leaves Zenyatta in her dust.
That's it for you.
Simple.
Right.
I mean, is there any way we know Zenyatta's going to have to come from back? That's what she does. And once you get Rachel out in front, I mean, ain't nobody catching her there.
Okay.
Is it my turn?
Yep.
Okay. So I think the 10 furlongs certainly helps Zenyatta here. Make no mistake, Rachel Alexandra would be on the lead, I believe. I also believe that Zenyatta would not lose contact. Wouldn't be like a race to the full field where she's going to be 25 lengths back. I don't see her more than 2 or 3 lengths behind Rachel Alexandra down the backstretch. I think Zenyatta has been behind slow paces before. So even if Rachel is able to slow it down to say a 112 3/4 mark, maybe even more, Zenyatta's closed into those slow paces before. She's shown she can do it. So I just look at the will to win. They both had tremendous will to win, but Zenyatta, I mean, let's face it, she was won 19 races in a row, and she just knew where the wire was. And being that the race is at Santa Anita at 10 furlongs, I have to give Zenyatta the favorite here.
All right. That was good.
Yep.
Very good. Very good. Way to break it down. I have one question really quick for you guys. Do you think Rachel Alexandra or Zenyatta at 1.25 miles could beat Gamine?
Doubt it.
Yes, I think the Rachel Alexandra. There's no comparison between as 3-year-olds. What I like to do when people talk about Rachel Alexandra and Zenyatta is a little bit off the subject. They were both. I classify them differently because Rachel was a 3-year-old filly when she was in her prime and she really won her races, while Zenyatta was an older filly. Zenyatta didn't really run much at age 3. So in fact, she broke her maiden and ran an allowance race at age 3. That was it. So I look at Rachel Alexandra as probably in the top 3 of 3-year-old dirt fillies, 3-year-old dirt fillies in the last 50 years. And I look at Zenyatta as top 2 or 3 older dirt fillies, older fillies and mares in the last 50 years. That's how I kind of classify these two. So it's difficult to compare them. They didn't run against each other. They were in different divisions. But as far as the Gamine comparison, it's an insult to Zenyatta and Rachel Alexandra at this point.
And I'm going to give your other two. I love that answer. I'm going to give your other two as Ruffian and Winning Colors. That's who I'm going to go.
My other two are Ruffian and Go for Wand.
Oh, Go for Wand. Yeah. Well, that was really sad that you said both those horses. All right. AJ, real quick, what do you think about that?
You had my answer.
Okay.
Right,
which is ridiculous. I want to debate you on that. All right.
Let's move on to round 3. It's the battle royale between you two. You have 1:30 total. You just go after each other.
All right.
And we'll start now.
Look, Chip, I gave you home field advantage. I don't know what else you want. But the fact of the matter is, this is just a faster horse. And I think, you talked about coming into slow paces. I mean, I think whatever pace Rachel sets, the fact that Zenyatta is going to have to stay up farther than that, I think is only going to make her tired and going to really, mute that late charge that she always has. So I just don't see how that scenario works for Zenyatta there at all. I think in a match race, I think you're better off here on Santa Anita in a 6-horse field, giving somebody else to push Rachel up front a little bit more than you are one-on-one, I think.
Okay, Chip, go.
I mean, Rachel Alexandra certainly will likely get to the lead, but I disagree. I think horses in match races that are against each other, they love to run against each other. You're not going to see Mike Smith on Zenyatta let Rachel Alexandra get away from him. And I think, like I said, Zenyatta would lay a couple lengths, maybe 2-3 lengths behind Rachel Alexandra. At the same time, you're not going to see Rachel Alexandra and Calvin Burrell go too fast because he knows it's 1.25 miles. He knows his filly is best at 9 furlongs or less. I know she won the Preakness at 1.316, but she was all out to hold off Mind That Bird, who Zenyatta coincidentally defeated by double-digit lengths in the Breeders' Cup a few months later. So I do think the 1.25 favors Zenyatta at Santa Anita, and I think that she would defeat Rachel Alexandra.
All right, time.
Okay. All right. All right. I like it. All right. So let's deliberate real quick.
Yes, let's.
Okay, I'm going to bring up right away. I think this comes down to a lot of things that Chip brought up. I have to say, and I think, and I didn't, and I'm going to be honest, I forgot about this, and he hit it, which kind of because I was starting with Rachel. I think Rachel's a faster horse. I think Rachel would have won this race. The Mind That Bird thing that kept coming up. And AJ, you missed on the Calvin Burrell jumping. That was a big deal.
Oh, jumping off to ride.
Jumping
Rachel.
off Mind That Bird to go to this Rachel Alexandra. I thought that was a good point. Maybe you should have made, and just saying. But Mind That Bird getting just demolished by Zenyatta is scary to me because Zenyatta, I mean, Mind That Bird did almost catch,
Rachel.
Rachel.
And by the way, she also defeated Summer Bird in that Breeders' Cup, who of course we know won the Belmont.
Yes, which is I mean, that was a big thing. I do think the pace scenario. You brought up a good point, Chip, where I agree with what Alex said. Where I mean, this horse could just get loose and just go, and she had a kick. But I did like the fact that, AJ, you brought up I don't think you went on it enough, but the 5-horse field thing, where Zenyatta, I think, ran against, in my notes, 143 horses. If you throw out the 2 classics and her first race, which was 12 horses, which is a maiden, special weight, which is whatever. I mean, she ran against like 5 horses every time she won, which is, and Rachel didn't do that. I do think that was a good point you made where you said 5-horse fields, which is very good. But I have to say, which I figured I was going to go into with this, was going to be a draw.
You're going to draw?
I have to go a draw. I mean, I would go a draw almost with these horses.
What a coward's way out.
Oh, really? Because you would have just voted against me. We already know that. So I'm going to go a draw because I think these are very evenly matched horses. The Mind That Bird thing really got me. I'll be honest.
Yeah, no, of course. I agree with that. The Mind That Bird thing did get me too.
Which is a weird thing to go with.
That's a definite strong argument.
Yeah, of all things.
Right?
I think as far as talking about just this match race alone, mile and a quarter on dirt. This is really tough because I do see Rachel going to the lead, but I know Zenyatta has that explosiveness. My only concern is the distance. She likes to have that kind of stretch duel. I'm just nervous with the distance here.
It's a distance she's good at.
I know. But what kind of solidified the argument to me, you've brought up several times, is yes, Rachel beat Kentucky Derby winner Mind That Bird, and then Zenyatta came to beat Mind That Bird by double-digit lengths. So for me, I'm going to pick Zenyatta.
Oh, AJ, you're not happy about that right now. And listen, and I'm going to say it right now. Okay, so we have it. Sarah went with Chip with Zenyatta. I went draw, which, AJ, good job, because I do think you represented it well.
You did.
Like I said, I almost started draw. Now let's talk about it, like for real, for a minute before we got to go. Listen, I think if this race happened, honestly, I think Rachel would go to the lead. I'll say it out loud, a big lead. I think Zenyatta would come charging and it'd be ahead, and I think Rachel would win. I do. By like ahead. That's my opinion. The San Anita thing might make it a dead heat. That really was the
That Santa Anita thing. I shouldn't have conceded that.
yeah. But that's my opinion. I'm not saying who'd win the race. I'm just saying the argument was good on both ends.
I thought for sure he was going to bury me with the only time Rachel ever went a mile and a quarter, she lost.
Yeah.
No.
But you AJ had a very strong argument. Those are 2 horses that it was a match race that was never. I know everybody wanted to see that, and they were trying to set it up, doing the apple blossom late in their careers, but Rachel last minute was not gonna enter.
Which I know. I always thought Zenyatta ducked Rachel because it wouldn't leave California. But then I read about it. I was like, Rachel might have ducked. I know the synthetic thing, but Rachel might have ducked Zenyatta a little bit.
They were trying.
No.
Well, it was both kind of a case of like, well, if you want to, you come over here, or no, you come over here, you come over here, you come over here.
Yeah.
All right. So that was it, guys. That was great, guys. AJ,
That's tough.
nice try, but I'm always going to vote against you either
What
way.
am I 0-3 in these things now?
I'm the one that's I haven't even won a draw yet. I
don't think any of the clowns have actually won yet. So.
None of the 3 of us have ever
we
won.
are at a disadvantage. This one I thought we had a little bit more of because I do think we start behind the 8 ball, but we had to go against Dr. Derby. So I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, let's see.
It's a great.
We should let
debate.
them argue against all 3 of us, and maybe we have a shot. So,
I don't know.
I mean, we probably argue with each other.
Both of these fillies. Both of these fillies were unbelievable, and they both are right near the top of their divisions in the last 50 or so years. And I don't think, as far as Rachel, actually, as far as both, I don't think you'll ever in our lifetime see what they did on the track again. Rachel by winning the Kentucky Oaks, the Preakness, the Haskell. We didn't even talk about her Mother Goose. She won by 25 lengths.
25. That was unbelievable. That was her best race.
Well, we didn't even talk about her Woodward Stakes either.
Her Woodward, which was unbelievable. We have seen fillies try the Woodward since. Harvard of Grace did. And then, of course, Zenyatta winning 19 in a row. Again, I don't think you're ever going to see that again. When I say 19 in a row, not 19 in a row starter allowance. I'm talking 19 in a row where there's laden with grade 1s and grade 2s in that. First off, horses aren't even running that much that many races anymore. But what she did, I don't care what you say, to do that is unbelievable.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
Let's just put it,
exactly.
no filly out there right now would ever come close to that. I just want to make that clear right now.
We
Not
never
right
even
now.
had one out there. No.
Moonlight DRL, possibly. That's about it.
Yeah, right.
And now this was great, Chip. We appreciate you coming on to challenge one of the most talked about match races that there never was.
Yeah,
against two very, very tough fillies that.
Yeah, we really appreciate that from
Yes.
Chip, because this was a tough one. This was one that, I don't think anybody
It's a
wanted to
difficult
do.
one, man. You
Yeah.
guys picked a gem.
Yeah, this is one you have to talk about. But thank you, Chip.
I'm wondering if since I conceded home field advantage, if Rachel had run at Santa Anita, if the same thing would have happened.
If what same thing?
What
If
do
she
you
went to Santa Anita and ran the Breeders' Cup, if she would have lost too. Like
Oof.
I lost, I conceded home field and I lost. If she
And I'm
would've
not
came
saying this
in and
because
ran.
I'm not saying this because I'm defending Zenyatta. I think the connections for Rachel Alexandra made a great move by not running in the Breeders' Cup Classic that year. She had a long campaign. The Woodward took a lot out of her. Plus, that Breeders' Cup was on synthetic, which she had not run on before. There was really no reason to ship to California at that time. So I fully back their decision by not running.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one, the Apple Blossom might be the one that really.
That's the one people talk about.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I
Exactly.
I agree with that.
And they were trying to set that race up to favor both of them.
you're right. The owner, Charles, I believe Sella, was going to offer a bonus. It didn't come to fruition. Part of the reason why is, Rachel. Let's face it, Rachel, and not dissing her at all. She just wasn't the same filly at age 4, but I think it's because of her 3-year-old campaign. It just it was historic. So
we might see
exactly.
Swiss Skydiver with the same.
I tend to agree with what you're saying, actually. I thought Swiss Skydiver had a unbelievable campaign. One of the better ones we've seen by a 3-year-old filly in quite some time as far as what she did. She didn't have the numbers like all those grade 1 wins, 5, 6 grade 1 wins, but who she ran against, beating the males like she did in the Preakness. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how she comes back at age 4.
Yeah, so many tracks, so much travel.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Chip. And Chip, tell everybody out there where they can follow you and see Dr. Derby and all the other things you're doing. I'm going with you with Horse Racing Nation. I think we all know that.
I wonder.
Yeah. But Chip, let us know.
Yeah, horseracing.nation.com. You could read me every week. The last couple of weeks, we've kind of taken a little hiatus for a couple of weeks because of the Breeders' Cup. But we're back this week with the division rankings. So I write the rankings every week because I'm gearing up to vote on the Eclipse Awards here in the next couple of weeks. Going to be casting votes. There's really 2 divisions that are still kind of open that I'll be profiling in the next couple of weeks. And you can catch me there on Twitter at Dr. Derby and with you guys once in a while.
All right, sounds good. Absolutely.
Awesome,
We
Chip.
appreciate
it's always
that.
A pleasure.
And Chip, when you're doing the division thing, I got to ask you really quick, when you had that sprint division, did you have a horse named Vertical Threat in there at all?
I did not.
Oh my gosh. All right, Chip, I'm never talking to you again. And no, he was going to go to the
Eclipse. For the Eclipse? No, not this year at least.
Well, he was going to go to the Malibu, and if he beat Nashville, it would have been 4 for 4 on the sprint.
Yeah, the male sprint's one of those divisions where I think you're gonna have to revert back to the 2 previous leaders of the division prior to the Breeders' Cup. I don't see how you can give it to Whitmore, as great as he was in the Breeders' Cup. You have to kind of go back to the default of who the 2 horses were leading the division prior. And I'm not sure yet how I'm going to vote on that division, but I've got it down to those 2. So yeah. We'll see where we're at in a couple weeks.
All right, thank you, Chip,
Awesome.
so much.
Chip, happy holidays.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
you guys too, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely, always a pleasure, Chip.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, bye.
Talking Derby. See ya.
Triple Clowns is a production of the team at Big Umbrella. Rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Send us your questions at tripleclowns@gmail.com and you may be featured on a future episode. Follow us on social media at ClownsTriple on Twitter and Instagram, and follow me, AJ Ryder, at Troy McClain WWE on Twitter. Like and subscribe to our show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. All right, guys, for AJ Ryder, I'm out of here. See you later, everybody.